Welcome, who might have just gotten here. Well, the Cavs were trying to make it an interesting game. Were. Now it's kind of getting lopsided. But at least they caught it. They were getting it close. Okay. Mm, dun, 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 dun. Oh. Hmm. Yeah, Cavs got close, and then they got smoked again. Mm, a shame. It's like, dude, you're down by 7. Why are you not like shooting? 128 battles already. What a joke. Like, who in the heck has the time to do that many? Oh yeah, people play multiple account. People on multiple people playing their account with multiple people. Okay. Okay. Maybe the second game will be a better outcome. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm. I'll leave it alone. Maybe we get lucky. Although I don't know. That's a very limited resource, so I don't know if I'll even. Let me think. What are we doing? Mm-mm. Think we got an AFK. What? Whoopsie. Mm-mm. Hey, let's go. Oh yeah, my 11 battles. Let's go. I don't know. Another AFK battle? Huh. Well, pick your champ already, dude. Come on. I keep telling them that they need to change that. Like, why are you giving people over a minute to pick a champion? Well, again, like just someone else running the clock. You know. Like, come on, dude. The world's longest sheep. Well, It's like the battle wasn't going. Shouldn't have been long. They were just delaying it. AFK the entire time. So they call it AFK Arena. Again, take your turn, dude. It's like, come on. 3-minute battle because you AFK'd the entire time. Practically. So if you're not going to play it, then, it's why they need to make adjustments to it. There needs to be an AFK mechanic. You don't take a turn. If you run out the clock, you forfeit your turn. In what world does it actually give you a turn? It shouldn't. Like, that's an absolutely ridiculous mechanic. Mm-mm-mm. It's like, no one's got time for that. AFK Arena. No. You either play or you don't play. Like, I don't, like I said, there's no real reason why they give players so much time in Arena to pick champions and turns. It's kind of dumb. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we got some more battles to do. time is wasting my time. I don't know if I'm going to win this one. But I should get my counter. Salinar the Busted. It's a champion that should have never been put in the game. As he stands. With no clear counter. Come on, pick a champ. I would AFK people back, but my time is a little more valuable. So shouldn't it be a hard thing to do? Take a freaking turn, man. Pick your champs. Do it. Like this minute thing. Come on. Why does it need to be that long? Now I went off on my Supreme Agent and was just like, come on. Like you guys have just now done something in Live Arena only because of the cheating scandal that came out. Like you would have continued to sit on it because it's like you refuse to do anything. They made slight changes this season about the points, but to me, it's like if you didn't make a change to the whole pace and everything else, then why even adjust the points this season? Roll out the big patch with all the fixes at once versus these. Well, let's try increasing the points. Let's try adjusting the points to see if things help. Why? Why do a subpar patch? Pick your champion. Let's go. People have things to do. It's not rocket science, dude. Pick your shit. There's the one time they tried telling me, well, there's sometimes lag, well, then we shouldn't be paired up. If we're fighting someone who has an absolute horrendous connection, then don't even match us up. But that then we shouldn't be patched up. Obviously, this guy's AFK. You know, guy was AFK. Well, a really good way to combat people being AFK is quite simple. Stop giving them turns. If they don't take a turn, the game doesn't pick a turn for them. They forfeit their turn. That'd be the best way to deal with that. You know? For unknown reasons, they don't see it that way. And 100% should. Yo! Oh, you'll hear me crying in live arena for nonsense. No, it's just the nonsense, the same old stuff where like you face against people that are just like AFK. Totally get it, but it shouldn't be called raid. AFK arena. It's live arena. Means it ought to be live. So you do it or you don't. Stop giving people turns. They're going to be AFK. If you're AFK, you forfeit your turn. That's the thing. That's how you combat people who AFK. Yeah, that's the whole point. It's called raid arena, live arena, not AFK arena. And I've had that conversation with my agent today, and I was just like, listen, man, like you guys released a pretty useless patch today about live arena. You adjusted the points. You made no real changes to it. It didn't combat cheaters. It was literally a useless patch that they released today that has little to no bearing. Um, and I said, listen, you guys shouldn't even bother to release this one. You should have rolled. You should have just waited to release the good patch that's going to address live arena versus what you did today. You released something that was absolutely stupid and garbage and near pointless. You literally didn't. You released something that was useless. You really did. Of course, I got myself a turtle team. You know, here's this one. Uh, I don't know. This guy's just gonna. This is gonna be a long match, but yeah, I don't know. Like, there's really no reason why, if someone's not gonna sit in front of their computer or their phone, there should be never a circumstance where the game actually picks a champ for you. Like that's what the point of arena is. If you It shouldn't actually pick a champion for you. If you're not going to be, if you don't pick a champion, you don't get a turn. You know how easily that fixes everything about arena. It that'd be the way to do it. You don't pick a you don't take a turn. Why should you actually take? Why should the game pick a turn for you? I can't understand the logic in it. And like I said, that's how you deal with it. It'd be the easiest way. Yeah, you have to. If you don't pick a champion, you don't take a turn. The game shouldn't do it for you. I mean, they try to tell me that the game does because sometimes there's connection issues. If there's a connection issue, we should not be paired up in the first place, right? Again, uh, you should not pick. You should not give me an opponent that our connection is absolutely horrendous. So I told him, like, it doesn't hold any water. I was like, that's pretty rough that you think that's the fix. I said that's if you're not if you don't take a turn, you don't get a turn. Oh well, we do that because somebody might have a bad connection. Well, we shouldn't be paired up against each other then. We shouldn't. We shouldn't be then be paired up. Although I'm kind of curious, I have yet to use this champ in PvP, so we'll give it a whirl. But like I said, it's kind of silly to me that the game should never be picking turns for someone. It just shouldn't. Oh, I didn't even pick my cooldown champ. Wow. I don't know what I was then thinking. And like I said, it would fix a lot of issues. Oh, um, which like I don't see anything on my side that you can't see. My avatar, bro. What? Yeah, I'm looking and I'm not seeing a champion that's not in the can. So you have to, but there isn't a fifth champion. You can only have four. Like I'm looking at my stream on another device. You can't have. Oh, I will. Let me see if I can tweak that and get a little higher. Okay. The champion he banned was Volkanovs. I haven't used him yet. I got him uh, maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I haven't used him yet, so it would have been kind of interesting to get to use him. But he uh, he elected not to let me have that champion, which probably wasn't. It's not necessarily bad pan. In all fairness, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, hey, let me try this guy out. I haven't used him yet. So, but it did. These guys. I think it's so funny that why they send you these. They're bots. I had a guy come in and it's like, hey, I got a streaming friend, and if you check hit him up on Discord. And I was like, I looked at the message a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I hit you with a follow. I got to go for now. And then I looked through and I was like, but you didn't actually hit me with a follow? So you just lied? Oh, okay. All right. So wow. So obviously I know you're full, crap. Since you're gonna lie about even hitting a guy with a follow. How how serious am I gonna then hit up your guy in Discord? You can't even hit me up. Oh, okay, okay. Obviously you're full of crap. Uh oh, got the first turn. Let's. He must be pretty slow because even with his 25%, his 30% boost, he didn't do anything. So must be pretty slow. The season's going all right go so far. I've lost two, which it's gonna happen. Um, I lost against a saw on our team, which says it in itself, and then I lost against a guy that's already way up in the leaderboard, Limburg. He's got 315 points already. I don't know. Like I said, who's got time to be running? If you got 300 points already, good. Good for you. I'll just leave it at that. You either got multiple people playing your account, or you have a heck of a lot more time on your hand than any other people. And that's why arena can live arena is will probably never really be taken serious. You're not you don't put a cap on how many battles you can do, so it automatically becomes just how many battles you do. So it what's the point? You don't put a cap, and we all know why they won't put a cap because gem refills, and that means money in their pocket. So we get it. That's the bottom line. They don't want to do that. They don't want to put a cap on it. That means people aren't going to be buying 3,000 worth, live arena tokens. All right, guy. Pick your champ. Let's go. Ban Marius. Okay. Not a bad ban. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Almost did the wrong skill. Well, I got protected buffs, so I don't think there's going to be much he's going to do. Yeah, I kind of thought so. Bum, 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 bum. I know I'm a little already kind of like done and fatigued for Live Arena for the day. I did 15 matches almost. That I'm about done for Arena. I got one more to do. Well, technically I did. I don't know. I guess I don't know how many. 15 or something. We'll check. I think I did 15. This would be my 15th. I don't know. I'm never going to sit down and like just do this all night. But I think what it really is, you have a team of players, team of people playing your account. You know, and then you'll be able to do all the battles in the world. And that's like I said, there ought to be a cap. Putting a cap on it would help. The fact that like what you know what I'm thinking. You know what I have here's what I think is a really good idea. All right, and you tell me what you think. All right, check it out. Okay, so I have a good solution. So Plarium is still going to want their money. They're still going to want people to spend gems and token refills. Okay. Okay. Now there's going to be people in with a less developed account that will have to do a ton of battles in order to get the 1320 mark. So my solution is continue to allow people to um, buy token refills and no cap. However, your win percentage should factor in, and it gets factored in at the end of the season as a multiplier. So if you have a 50% win rate, you get like a 1% multiplier. If you had 60%, you get like a 1.2% multiplier. And if you have like an 80% win rate, you get a multiplier of your score, say 1.5, something like that. So then all of a sudden, wins matter because your win rate is going to give you an end of the season multiplier. And that appeases all people, right? You get the people who want to do all the kinds of matches in the world. Okay. You're going to have people with less developed accounts that have to do a lot of matches. Hey, they got it too. So I think, like I said, I think it's a win across the board, and that you know wins are going to matter. Your rating's going to matter. Everything's still going to but you get a multiplier. Eh, like I said, I think it'd be a wonderful idea. Yeah, good luck living through that. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything unless he has a death dealer on him. Wow, that actually hit pretty hard. I hit way harder than it should have. That's all right. You got him now. But yeah, so what you mean is that people who prioritize playing high with a high win rate get better value for the tokens. Well, okay, what it kind of not okay. Let's take a look at the leaderboard, right. Okay. We got a great example right here. Okay. Um, so the guy at third place, and not to pin the guy, not to pin on the guy, not the pick on the guy, but obviously you can see here he's got 419 points. All right. But a 57% win rate. So, what I propose is that at the very end of the season, your points, in this case 419, you then used your win rate as a multiplier. So, your win rate multiplier comes in at the end of the season. And, for argument's sake, we'll say a 50% win rate is just an even, you get exactly the points you got. 1. So your win rate multiplier is 1. If you got 60%, your win rate multiplier is 1.2. If you have a 70%, it goes to 1.3. And while why that win rate multiplier, maybe there's a better numbers to use, but all of a sudden win rate matters. If there was a multiplier with win rate, because as it stands, um, perfect example. Look at the fourth guy. He's got a very respectable win rate, 83%. Don't get excited by my 90%, because I've only done 20 battles, and that number will go lower. I'm not going to hold a 90% win rate. I'm just not. But if he's only done 60 battles, and because he's only done 60 battles, by the sheer number of battles alone, this guy's ahead of him. But he's got no business being ahead of him. He's just done double the amount of matches. So if there was a win rate multiplier, it would all of a sudden means win rate means something, and that sheer battles alone is not all that matters. A win rate multiplier, but it's only calculated at the end of the season. As far as placements, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think the person that's got 10,000 battles is going to have a ton of points. Should he really be the person that wins if he won 40% of his fights? No, never. There's no way. You know, I get it that right now, like, hey, in competitive things, oh no, no, you can't give out a trophy. You doesn't participation alone should mean something. Not in competitive play. There had to be a win rate multiplier. You know what I mean? Like so many people, it's just because they're doing a ton of battles, they themselves, though they're higher than everyone else because they did a ton of battles. The person that doesn't able to do a bunch of battles, he gets penalized and doesn't get in a higher placement. If there was a win rate multiplier, it's kind of, I think that'd be a really, really, really good solution. A win rate multiplier, in that it takes what your points are multiplied by your win rate, and that's your actual level of live arena points this season. Because all of a sudden, you make everything matter. The number of battles you do still hold value. The actual win rate holds value. If I'm trying to place somewhere in the top 500, top 100, top 10, if I just get people who grieve me and run the clock on every battle, that's going to slow me up. That's going to stop me from doing battles. Well, this guy here, he's not getting the people that are grieving him. He's not getting those people. He's able to do 10,000 battles because he's not going against somebody who's running the clock for 10 minutes. So I think it'd be a really good solution. A win rate multiplier. Win rate multiplier. And then I think you got something. And then, like I said, it would make everything matter. The number of battles still would hold value. Your actual wins would hold value. And who wouldn't like that? A win rate multiplier. So I think that'd be a really good solution. Like I said, you would number of battles still hold value. Your win rate actually means something now. Because right now win rate means nothing. You can have uh, you can have less than a 50% win rate, and you can still place very, very high, just on sheer number of battles and what's the points associated with. So, what do you think about that system? A win rate multiplier. It's got it. Like I said, I think that would make sense. I like it. Granted, I'm a little biased and I came up with it myself, but I think it would be a pretty good gig. A win rate multiplier. Well, let's see here. Can we? Yeah, yeah. I think it'd be a fan. It solves. It gives. Look, it wouldn't. It would. Who would it hurt? I do know someone it hurts, but should that person even be in contention for the top 500? Somebody with a really bad win rate. That person would all of a sudden not be a top 500 player, perhaps. However, however, if you're at a 50% win rate, you are not a top 500 player. I believe we can agree. I think it would hurt the boosters. I would agree, but you know who would? Most players would love the idea that. But as much as people, as much as the boosters, though, most of the boosters do have respectable win rates. So I mean, there is still that. So it wouldn't hurt them completely. Most boosters do have a good win rate. Most. So I mean, so it wouldn't necessarily hurt them. The person that does get hurt is somebody with a really poor win rate. Would also no longer be in contention, but they shouldn't be anyways. So that to me, so yeah, I think you know. So yeah, that it could affect boosters, but I think it would take out of the contention as someone with a really bad win rate is all of a sudden no longer a top player. Well, they weren't a top player in the first place. you know, I know it sounds harsh, it sounds cruel. What do you mean? What do you mean the guy with the win rate, 50% win rate, isn't a top player? Well, he wasn't. He's not. The pudding guy is kind of funny. Um, he always says something controversial and gets him banned. I think he's up to like 8 accounts. He's told me, and I don't know. I could not imagine. I was like, dude, I was like, you do know. I said, you do know what the definition of insanity is, right? Doing the same things over again, expecting different results. And he's like, yeah, I know. I was like, just like, wow, dude. I would never. I would never like. Oh gosh, I was not prepared. Like I said, let's see, let's see. Yeah, yeah. While I haven't been there, I don't spend a ton of time in general chat because usually they just talk about nonsense that has nothing to do with my interests, and they just say like off the wall nonsense. Uh, but he's looking at his screen name, you might see why like he might say something like, okay, he's changed his name, but a lot of times his name is not what it currently says. And it's usually something else. And that name often gets him into trouble. And then, of course, he'll say something where someone takes it the wrong way, and then someone tells on him, and then one of the moderators in the chat will actually ban him. So yeah, he's been banned a number of times. It's kind of ridiculous. Like I said, I think I don't know. I don't think I would ever, you know. Now I think you can get banned from chat, but not banned from the game. But he loves to talk in general, so he usually starts a new account when that happens. Well, I think I know what I'm going to do. Let's see if we can get lucky, right? So I won my bracket from the coalition, and I got myself my the 50 there, and then I had 50 from doing this nonsense. So let's see if we can get lucky. I doubt we do because of how bad the system is rigged. Let's be real. The system is really, really, really bad. But let's see if we can get lucky. Alright, so I think I know what to do. Alright, folks, let's see if we get lucky. Let's see if we can get lucky. I would say it's lucky, but that is my 8th heart. I would, like I said, I would argue that I should be happy to get a mythical, but at this point in time, no. No. Stop giving me hearts. It's like, oh my gosh. It, you know. Yeah, let's see if we can like. Oh my gosh. There you go. Mm. Like I said, it's ridiculous. It really is. Stop giving me hearts. Like, please, please, no more, no more, no more hearts. Like at this point in time, I have more hearts than I do actually the aspect of the surf. Now, granted, I have destroyed a lot of them. So, but it doesn't change the fact. I'm gonna pull up something real quick. Like I said, just absolutely ridiculous how bad it is. Ugh. Like I said, in most circumstances, somebody would be ecstatic to get a heart. I am not at this point in time. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I said I know there would be people that actually be happy and excited. Like, dude, I got a mythical. I would agree. But at this point in time, I have 8 hearts, man. Like, I would love to see something. I'd love to see a different relic at this point in time. Come on, man. I know there's different relics in the game. I you know, I know. I should be ecstatic. I should be happy, but no. I'm tired of seeing hearts. I really am. Hey, since mythicals are so hard to get, how is it that you can't trade them in? I mean, hey. Even if it was a 3-to-1 ratio, a 4-to-1 ratio, how about enough mythical relics? You trade in, you get a mythical that you actually want. I don't think that'd be asking too much. There ought to be a trade in at this point in time. You know, I don't know. Like I said, um, I want to see the problem with that. A mythical mercy system would be nice. You know, something. Guess I'm coming up on faction wars. I still don't have any of the mythicals from faction wars. Grim Forest has been very kind to me. I ain't gonna lie. Grim Forest has been very kind. Um, I I have gotten um, each of the mythicals out of there already. Um, yeah, Grim Force has been kind. Now, no denying that one of the better DPS relics is, in fact, the lens. I've gotten 2 lenses, um, and I have one of them. I still haven't. I haven't even used this champion yet. So, like, in all fairness, I should give it to somebody else. Um, I don't know. I should. Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I don't even think that champion is gear. I don't think. Could be wrong. I Yeah, I guess I started the project, and then don't know what happened. Yeah, I said I started the project, and then I lost interest. That's what happened. But what I even... Looks like I got 2 pieces of stone skin, 3 pieces of stone skin. What's on this one? Well, let's see. You know what? Let's see if we can put something together real quick. Maybe one day I'll use the jam. Say, do I have any reasonable pieces? Um, mm, well, it's got a lot of crit rate. I'll give it that. All right, give me the fitting room. Let's see what we can do. Okay. Mm, oof. Okay. So, mm, yeah, I don't know why they're giving me that message, but okay. Oh, okay. We do need one more piece. I was like, what am I missing? Okay. Let's see. We need some grit. Maybe some. Wait. Yeah. Probably some speed would be nice. Oof. Okay. Kind of middle in the road pack piece. Some speed. Okay. Maybe. Generally speaking, yeah, and they have in fact they've improved the Forge Pass. At least this past season they did. So like now it actually is including um at least 50 mythical pieces. So that was a nice improvement. Let's see what else. So we can give up a little bit. Yeah, they improved this season's past one that just got released. Um, they they gave you at least now you can at least get 50 mythical, um, relic things. Mm, okay, so in all fairness, we could be looking at a better weapon, or we can get a little more, but we give up some speed. Oh yeah, and even the other one, the um the name will come to me in a second. Even the other mythical one that drops from there is very nice. That would, mm, yeah, the Dread Bomb is fantastic, and even the Immortal. Yeah, I think it's the Immortal something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one is really really good too. That both of them are top notch. Really annoying to deal with on revivers. Clearly. Well, I don't like the idea of giving up 7 speed. I do like the increased damage. I don't know. Again, it's still probably a champion that's never going to get used. Too slow. Too slow to do anything. And I'm like so strapped for like speed glyphs, so I, I'm not going to pump any speed glyphs into her. I would be able to get, at least 20 good speed, but I'm so strapped for speed glyphs. I, I literally got, 4 or 5 stars and 1 6, one legendary one. Definitely not gonna dig into them. Yeah. Oh, with the Mercurial set that came out, I'm so strained for enchantments. But I have some. There'd be some good champions to put some mythical stuff on. There's no denying. Like, obviously, I've been using Theo, Theodosia a lot, so like improving her speed would be a huge priority. Um, I can't really improve in my current build. Like my Sifi can't really get any faster, even if I had like the mythical Spiegelus, because of like being that's a 5 star, it can't be more than 5 speed. You know, that's a 10 roll. Sure, that could technically get 2. That's an 11 roll. You're 1. A 7 roll. There's some room to grow. A 12 speed. That one's topped out. Um, and again, like that's a 9 speed, so Seafeed's pretty much capped out as far as like I can't really take my Seafeed build really any further. Um, and Mary's was pretty much like topped out as well. Like some enchantments, could get him a little bit more. Like they're 3 speed, 4. That'd be 9, 15, 18. So he has some room to grow, but as far as like how much of it, I know it makes a difference, but so I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do anything more to Marius until because if I ever get a Stormcaller, if ever, you know, and then if I get lucky with some Mercurial set, like right now that's like really super strong. But I wouldn't even be able to run Marius in that yet. Anyways, I did just get. I guess the only other thing we'd be waiting on Um, obviously, Stormcaller, which doesn't seem to exist on my account. Hey, at least I got a future piece, you know. And I don't think I have anything good as far as banners are concerned. And I think that's even yeah. I don't think so. We wouldn't be able to run like anytime soon, even if a Stormcaller finally did drop. I don't think because that's a garbage piece. That's a garbage piece. In fact, probably if anything. Well, I mean, it's not very good, but it's something. Same like it didn't all go on the speed. Let's see. Well, we'll take it up one. Take it up to 16. Maybe we'll get lucky. Yeah. Gosh, pretty rough. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if that's worth doing. I could re-roll this piece, but one, the rolls aren't exceptionally good anyways. In all fairness, we'll risk it for the biscuit. Hey, okay. I'm not saying it's an amazing piece, but you know, okay. I mean, like I said, we're still a ways away before we can even put. Um, I really to get the most out of Marius, you need a Stormcaller. So but at least it looks like maybe some passable accessories. Oh my gosh, that piece is just rough. Started out with potential. Like I said, a ways away. I don't think it's even. I don't think it's worth putting Marius in. What? Hey, I know who's got an upgrade for me if I decided to. I did not know I was sitting on that. Well, I know. Okay, all right. Well, little did I know I had something sitting a nice piece already for him. So, like I said, at least it looks like I have the accessories to pull off an okayish Marius build for with a Stormcaller. And then the other pieces, we're like I said, I'm not even going to worth looking into until I get a Stormcaller first. Stormcaller, then potentially look into changing him over to the Mercurial set. It ain't worth it in the meantime. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think from the last, yeah, I took a stab at at the at something from the Forge, and I didn't get lucky. Yeah, those two are really super strong. Now, I haven't seen too many people with a Dread Bomb. I ain't gonna lie. I've seen a few people with the Immortal Visage. I have seen people with that one. The Dread Bomb, I almost know no one. I don't know anyone personally. How's that? I know some clanmates have this one, but I haven't seen anybody with a Dread Bomb. But that also doesn't, mean I know every single person in the raid game. I have one of these, quite a strong relic. Um, I have it on my Queen of Hearts. If I was to start getting, if I got lucky, I would put it. If I got some good pieces, I would. probably put it on an Odin, but I don't have a good Mercurial set for Odin yet. I have not seen good pieces for it. Yeah, that would be pretty darn strong. Yeah, like I said, I have not really seen that relic around yet. But I mean, with each Forge Pass, if they're going to continue to give out 50 mythical mats, people might start to see. You might see more and more of the Dread Bomb. Yeah, if I got a Dread Bomb, I wouldn't even. I don't even know if I would. I would at that point in time no longer care about a Stormcaller. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna put my odds that I will get a Dread Bomb before I get a Stormcaller. There's a prediction. Yeah, I have not seen any crit damage amulets yet. So I haven't. I don't use Odin much. Every once in a great while. But if I got some decent pieces, I think I'd put the Bane on Odin and deck him out in 9-piece Mercurial. I think that's what I would do. But like I said, currently I have it on my Queen of Hearts, which I occasionally use Queen of Hearts. Not, I will use on a regular basis Queen of Hearts in 3 versus 3. But outside of that, also Queen of Hearts I do also use in Faction Heart. But outside of that, it's not a champion I do much. Sees too much of light in my account. But I mean, she's strong. She has her purposes from time to time. Oh yeah, I think I got to do. I got my other tag teams to do. Yeah, if I got a Dread Bomb, the hunt for a Stormcaller would be over. It'd be like, yeah, you know, I can't rely on Raid to give me a Dread Bomb. I mean, or Stormcaller apparently. Yeah, she's a really strong counter to a buff heavy team. A buff heavy team would absolutely, she does a really solid job against buff heavy teams. Yeah, like a good pick. I like to use if I'm doing like 3 versus 3. I like to use like Mariska, Taurus, Queen of Hearts, and if they have a skill cooldown champ, I like to use the chick, the Sacred Order chick that freezes people, and you can't put her skills on cooldown. This chick. Obviously, she's the counter to people who wants to put your skills on cooldown. Yeah. So like I said, otherwise I don't usually pick. Like usually, if I am doing a match, either I'll just ban um, the skill cooldown champ, or just don't. You know. However, I don't always rush to ban somebody's skill cooldown champ. You know, I'm not saying it's not ever a good idea, but sometimes there's a better champ to ban. Not often, but usually is. Dun 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 dun. Well, in the basketball news, I'm not very thrilled. Well, the two teams the two games today, I did not. In fact, I didn't. Hold on a second. Yesterday's game was the same. Yeah, I didn't pick any of the winners. Well, I guess you could say I picked Minnesota over San Antonio, but yeah, I struck out otherwise. Lakers, yeah, Lakers got kind of smoked. Cavaliers, and while the final score, they were they were kind of in the game. The 76ers were never in it yesterday. Oh my gosh, that game was horrible. Like, oh my, yeah, that was a rough game. 76ers were obviously horrible yesterday. But, yeah, well, obviously, it's best of seven. So, I mean, maybe the other teams will get cleaned up and make it a series. Yeah, we don't really care about CVC. I mean, the awards out of it these days, people just, you know, it's epic and mythical, epic and legendary row pieces. You know, people aren't people aren't very excited about epics and legendaries anymore. It's mythicals or bust. Although I still won't lie that I still haven't even decided. I have a really good strong relic that I have yet to find a home for. I don't know who I want to put it on. Yeah, I don't know. Haven't decided. I know sounds like, geez, I would love to have that problem. Like I said, haven't decided who I want to put it on. So until then, it's just gonna sit there. Like there's some good champions to put it on. There is. Um, if I was gonna say like some good contenders, I can certainly see like a good contention by putting it on Hyvee, Hilva. I could see that. Good contender. Um, in certain situations, Nas, because you put him in his ultimate form, hopefully you know will res people as he kills. So he would get an extra turn. He's a strong contender. Um, I have Theo already in a speed relic, so I don't really much the game. Yeah, but I ain't gonna lie. You know how often I use Nas? Almost never. I know it sounds like again. What do you mean? Why aren't you? Well, it's kind of hard to just slot them in to a team when you got you know where who do you slot in, like it's like this team. I mean, it that one's kind of obviously Bayek is extremely strong because people can't crit you if your accuracy is higher. So there's that. So and obviously Marius is Marius. I mean Marius is still extremely strong, and obviously it's an excellent counter to people that run Mercurial sets. His triple hitter. And Sifi's my best speed champ, and speed still matters in this game. So it's pretty darn. Who do you, who would I replace him in this spot? And you know, I would make the case that like Marius is a pretty good counter to Nas. So now if I was in my arena, if I pick Marius first, obviously then he's got a good spot, but don't use him much. And I know that's like, oh man, I'd be using him 90. I'd be using him every battle. You know, I know it sounds like a problem to have, but maybe you know, like I said, that's someone who can you can put it on. If I was to use the champions more often, obviously no, Noel and Sir Nick with some cheese. Sir Nick and Lady Noel can do some serious cheese. You know, there could be a play to be had to have her with more speed so she can get Sir Nick to do his thing. But I don't generally play the cheese teams. I generally don't care for like again the roster the team I just did. Why would I slip in Lady Noel, and why would I put in Sir Nick? Why would I put either of them when the team that I just put in was everything was perfect. You know, so that's why I haven't decided where to put that relic. But it would be a good contender. I think Lady Noel would be a good cheese, and the only problem would be is just how fast could I get her? Like I wouldn't want to give up my my Sifi gear, but if I was to, like there's some arguments that people, Sifi is definitely um, counterable because right now people understand uh, Supersonic is a really strong set against Sifi. But with I mean, I got a 6-star blessing honor, and in fairness, if I could switch some gear around and probably make her pretty fast, maybe not my fastest. Um, Probably could. Like I don't even know. like I said, there might be something there. Kind of curious. Let's take a look. You always start with the relic to see how fast you can. Yeah, I don't think I got anything like that. Hmm. So I mean, okay, so you can get triple speed there. That's a good relic. I probably could leave those two pieces because that's 10 speed. And I highly doubt I got. Yeah, that triple speed, that 30 speed is pretty solid. Let's see, protection. I could get. Yeah, like I said, Lady Noel would be a respectable option of putting that the clan one on. I could certainly see it. I could. I could. Then I could slot in. That would be a really nice piece, really nice gem to have on someone. Increase the wearer's speed by five for each enemy under an active stun, freeze, sleep, revoke, fear, true fear, petrification, or sheep debuff placed by this champion. That would be pretty good. And she does freeze, so that I could certainly see in an instance late using you putting it on Lady Noel if I started using her more primary. You know, Arbiter's not a good pick. Well, not necessarily it isn't a good pick. It's just she's already going to be, in theory, getting an extra turn on a res anyways. So, but there could be a situation where like could be okay for Arbiter. In all fairness, it could be okay. I don't really see Arbiter too much, and her speed's nothing special anyways. I don't have anything special as far as speed on her, so like even if I was to gain the 24 speed, I'm only at 430. You know, let's call it 430. You know, 430 is nothing to get excited about as far as in this current speed. A lot of people speed is still very dominant. I mean, you can make the case, like if you're going to use lockouts, you want your lockout being fast as possible. You know, so speed on a lockout character. Now, like, I do have Unico, and she actually is using um, one of my hilts. However, since I acquired the new mythical, I stole my gear from Unico, and now she's become a vault champ. So sounds like a problem. I know. It could be worse things to have. Because I don't really think I would. I don't know what kind of speed that I can get. I know when I had Like I said, she's got a hilt, and again, you don't really care that that it's not going to give your team a buff. You're just looking about that 18 speed. But before I stole her gear, she was able to get 418 speed. So not too shabby. Although, why isn't Severo like that fast? Hey, stop it, game. What's your base speed? 113. I thought. 105. What's the dilemma? Huh. How fast is she? Oh, I know why. Because it's a different relic. Yeah, she doesn't have a hilt on. Derp. Yeah, if like I said, I have I don't have great speed. I ain't gonna lie. I have to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. We're back. Okay. So, well, in all fairness, I think we'll take a break. Possibly back on. Not necessarily. Can't promise. Because for the most part, I got everything done. I got my dailies done. The only thing, I don't like spamming live arena more than I have to. I really don't. It's because they refuse to address the pace of the battle. You know, they 100% need to address the pace of the battle. You know, that's what they need to do. Like I said, the patch that they just released, I don't even know why they bothered with it. Wasn't it didn't address anything. So really, it really, something about points. That's what it was. That's what it addressed. Something about the points you earn. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't really. It definitely misses the mark. Yeah, let me see here. We're going to perform a server maintenance, which is required to make the first steps towards recently announced changes to attend to make Live Arena a fairer mode, named so that the number of season points and lost in each Live Arena battle better reflect the content of each match through a season. See the full breakdown. Please note that these changes will be activated tomorrow before the start of the next season. It will include in the in-game guides after this version. This is the first step of a series of updates that'll take 10 years from now to fix, including better matchmaking, pacing. But again, this is not any of those in this patch. None of this is that what I'm reading is in here. The only thing they addressed was the points, which I don't really think, it doesn't matter. That the points thing is barely making an adjustment. Definitely missed the mark. That I don't even think there was, why make any changes if and roll out the real patch. You know, it you put a band-aid on something you didn't even address anything. Definitely just, like I said, definitely something that missed the mark. All right. With that being said, we're gonna take a little break. And like I said, I don't know. Maybe we're back. Maybe we're not.